Hello, everyone. Welcome to my universe. Oh no, where'd my pen go? Where it goes? I dropped it. Okay, there we go. So let's see. I think for the most part, I have her braid drawn the way I want it, so at this point, it's just messing around and seeing what I can do to make it look a little bit better. I want it to match the hair that I have up here, because I rather like the hair that I have up here. There's a couple of spots I actually want to fix in it. Maybe I should do that first. Yeah, sure. And, then just, a couple of things around her face that are still bothering me a little bit. I told you I'm probably going to be fixing the face, like, every day until I finish it, declare it done. That's just how faces are. I'm sure that there will come a day where I am happy, but that day is not today. Anyway, I still feel like her mouth and jaw are protruding outward a little bit, and it feels weird, so I'm gonna try to push that back a little bit. And I think part of it is also the location of the nose. So the first thing I want to do is actually hide the mouth entirely. I am taking her mouth away for a little bit. It's okay, I'll give it back. Okay. Now, I want to see if I can align this nose a little bit better, because... Okay, let me get a color up in here. So, the way I'm seeing it at the moment, there's... Okay, I need it to be above the hair. So let's draw just all the way up here. Sounds good to me. So, I see kind of the face plane being kind of like this, yeah? Maybe this line should be a little bit more over here, but it's basically like this. And then at some point, from somewhere over here, it'll connect into her jaw. And so this is all one plane, and then another one kind of comes over here, and then we got a little bit up at the top over here. And this is super wonky, but it's okay. It's just a demonstration. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. And the way I'm trying to place the features, they do have to curve a little bit, but since this is one plane up here, I actually want to keep it fairly flat across here. So I'm following the curve of the eyes. It's like this. And that's how the eyes are sitting on the head. And then perpendicular to that, about halfway down, should come a line, and that should be roughly where the nose sits. I think it should actually be a little further... Yeah, a little further to the right here. Anyway, so that's going to be about where the nose sits. And you can see I probably have it a little bit too far over, but yeah, bisecting a box. I have to think about it for a second, and that'll take too long for a silly demonstration. So, yeah. I wanted to set a little more perpendicular to the eyes, is what I'm saying. There. And the way I'm determining where the center is like her head is turned slightly that way, right? So everything is rotating around this way. Just going around that way. And then it's also angled slightly back, so her head is also tilting back that way. So I'm dividing the box a little bit differently than I would if it was just straight on like this. Because they say that one I want to do right in the middle, but since her head is turning this way, I want to divide it a little bit more like this. And since her head is tilted back, then I want to divide it a little bit more like this. And that's how I kind of get the perspective and where to put the features. Anyway, long story short, I don't feel like the nose is sitting on the plane quite right here. Why? Well, that's a good question. If anything, my little demonstration said that I probably needed a little bit further to the right here. And the problem that I had was that I felt like the face was just... Oops, not that button, that button. Was coming out. Like it was pointing toward the viewer. I can't draw an arrow quite like that. Not easily, at least, but it was... It was sticking out. It's like she was thrusting her jaw forward. And, not what I'm going for, to say the least. So, I'll see if I can fix that. I'm gonna start with the nose. because I felt like the nose was still having some problems. So let's just try to push some of that back over a little bit. And see if I can get rid of that weird protruding feeling. Overall, I like what I've done with the nose so far, though. I think it's coming out pretty alright. And then another thing I want to be careful of is, you know, since her head is turning this way, we probably see very little to none of this plane of the nose here, and I do think I am showing it perhaps a little bit too much. So I'll adjust that too. Just gonna do some tiny, tiny adjustments with Liquify, because Liquify just makes my life easier, so I don't have to redraw the whole thing. And then I want to make sure that the tip of the nose here, where the nostrils are lined up with the same angle as the eyes. Right now, I don't think it is. I think this nostril needs to come up a little bit higher. And gradually, I hope that feeling of protrusion will just go away. I should probably do more than hope. It's okay, I can make it happen. That's the joy of being the artist. If you try hard enough and get good enough, you can make anything happen here. Okay. That still doesn't seem quite right. I'm gonna hide the blush for a second. So things are gonna look a little funny while I try to fix this up. It's okay, it's for the best. It's always for the best to kind of try to fix things, if you can. See, this is why baby artist me, back before I kinda figured a lot of things out, would spend like 3 months on a single painting. Because I'm just like, no, I want to fix it. I want to get it right. And it took me a really long time to do that. Always did. Whereas the only reason that this one's taking me so long is just because I work on it for 3 hours once a week. It is just my insistence of doing the entire thing on stream that makes it take a while. It's okay, it's a good place to be. Because now I can draw an entire picture in under 1 month, and that is nice. If I try hard enough, I can make it simple enough, I can even do it in under a week. Man, my baby self never thought this was possible. Once again, just not quite satisfied with nostril alignment here. Just trying to get it to follow the angles at the bottom of the eyelashes there. I actually kind of hate the eyelashes on this side too, so I might redraw them. There we go. I feel like the nose isn't sticking out quite so much now. I need to kind of smooth out some areas around it, but I think it's sitting there pretty okay now. And I mean, her whole cheek is this bright, so I think that this lighting is okay. So now I just kind of want to get the ridge of the nose a little bit better here. I'm not going to leave it this pointy. Like right now it looks very sharp. You can tell that I like using triangles for noses. And I'd prefer if people couldn't. But, you know, one thing at a time. Let me construct the nose just a little bit here from tip to tip. And then some of this is going to go under the mouth, so I'm not going to worry about it until I have the mouth on. That sounds like a good way to waste a bunch of time rendering some stuff that doesn't matter. So, and at some point I want to darken that top part of the nose and get rid of the light that I'm kind of putting there. But first, I kind of want to make sure that this line I'm putting down actually makes sense. I'm not wholly convinced that it does at the moment. And I want to touch up the cheek just a little here. Okay. I might want to make the area around her eyes just a little bit darker, but that's more for making her look kind of suspicious, and I can do that later. Once everything is a little bit more... I don't know, how do you say it? Once I am no longer annoyed by various facial features. And I feel like they are mostly correct. I can worry about that kind of dark shadow on the eyes to get that kind of effect. Yes. I think that's about the right way to put it. And I like having a little light around the nostril there. Are you lined up? Yeah, I think so. This nostril is just sticking out a little bit too much, so let's bring him back. Just gonna paint over there a little bit. Move nostril. There we go. Hello there. What is that? Earth Meanless. Hello. Welcome. Okay. And then since her head is turning around this way, I do want the tip of the nose to be kind of pointing that way too. So I'll just finish smoothing out that triangle. All right. And now I have something a little sharper than I want out on the bridge there, so I'm just gonna kind of blend that a little. And then I can give her mouth back. It'll be fantastic. She'll be able to talk again. Okay. So I just kind of want to blend that center part out into nothing here. Just, I don't want the nose to stick out so much, is all. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Let's give her mouth back. Okay. So now let's see if I can fix that protruding feeling from her mouth. Yeah, I think I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what to do. Just gonna kind of push this over. Being very gentle with liquefy here. I don't want to move things around too much. I might need to move around her lip a little bit. But right now, just kind of want to get the teeth. Just gonna push those teeth in a little bit. Oh yeah, that is so much better already. Okay, and then the other half is just... I need to fix the angle and let them follow the angle of the eyes and nose. Okay, and now I think I can fix that little bit of lip that I was mentioning. It's right up here. Let it come out just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Yeah, and that already feels a lot better than what I had before. And look, I barely even moved the tip of the nose because I never fixed the highlight on her nose there. Or rather, I never changed it. So I actually ended up not moving a lot of things too much. So that's nice. But there we go. I feel like a lot of the protrusion there is gone and things are looking much better. So, you know, before I get back into the rest of the braid like I was intending here, I'd like to blend in this shadow of her hair just a little bit. I think initially when I drew it, I saw it as almost a cast shadow or a shadow digging into her head from the fluffy bangs here. But I think that, hello there, Luminance. How long have I been streaming? Let's see, I've been streaming on Twitch for about a week, and then I've been streaming on YouTube for about 2 years. So it's mostly just me derping around and drawing stuff. Anyway, let's see. What I was saying here is that... I think the point where the bangs connect to the head, you know, it's way down here, I don't think we really see it. So while I do think there should be a shadow there, I don't think it should be quite this strong, and it's been kind of bothering me. I still kind of want to leave it a little bit line-like. I do. I am multi-streaming on both. Let's see. So yeah, I just kind of want to try blending that shadow in a little bit. Let me find a suitable layer to science with. You know what, screw it. I'm not going to look for one. I'm just going to make a new one. Oh. Well, here's the one I was looking for. Yes, yeah, I'm just going to make a new one. It's fine. It's science! I want to be able... I better put it above that one, though. Yeah. I want to be able to get rid of this if I decide I don't like it. So this part in the corner, I think, should still be pretty dark. But as I get more over here, I kind of want to blend it in just a little more. So I'm just going to be real gentle here. Because I think I can very much overdo getting rid of that shadow a bit here. I don't want it to disappear, I just want it to be a little bit softer. Just a little bit softer. Oh, hello there, Sleepy. Welcome. I am. I've been very excited for it. I have, like, the most basic core mechanics programmed already, so that's really nice. It's still in the very early stages, but the absolute basics are there. Well, it has been a while since you've been here. So welcome back. I always make a point to, you know, go out and do things. I do not take life easily. I have zero chill as a person. Okay, yeah, there we go. I think that's probably about where I want it. 'Cause I don't want it to fade out to, like, nothing. But yeah, just spreading it around a bit I think helped. And then I want to get rid of the parts up on the bangs themselves. So let's get in there and just erase. Because I do want the bangs to look like they are completely separated from the back of her head there. Because they are. But yeah, it's simple, but I like it. Let me just... I kind of want to blend this part just a little. I don't want the shadow to be sticking out quite that far. There we go. So I'm still keeping it pretty dang close to her head, but now it is just ever so slightly softer, and I don't think it draws as much attention to itself. So there we go, mission accomplished. Let's get back to the braid. I'm gonna collapse the hair because that's way too many layers, and just staring at them makes my face twitch. So let's scroll down and find where I have too many layers due to doing science on the braid. Okay. So let's see here. I already kinda messed with the light and dark on it a little bit. I think it looks great. And now, yeah, that one is probably going to be the one I work on next. I'm just trying to remember how I did things. So I put a little bit of texture going from braid pleat to braid pleat. What game am I making? Well, I mean, it's an original one. So my husband and I like to play factory building games, and I like to play Metroidvanias. So we're smashing them together. And that's the basic concept. One thing that we were always a little bit sad with factory games is that the ultimate goal of them was to effectively vaporize your resources for research until you got enough research to beat the game. So you never really did anything with the stuff that you were building. It was just a matter of, okay, let's build enough things, and say in Factorio, you go and you build a rocket. And that's the ultimate goal. So what we decided to do was make it so that instead of just building a bunch of stuff, so that this way you could research more stuff and then build more stuff, we were going to make it so that they actually affected your character's abilities. So, that would be things like your attack, or your health, your movement speed, your jump height. So stuff like that. So if you have a better factory, you're going to be able to move faster, jump higher, and, run through lava. It'll be great. So that's what we're doing. I am quite excited for it. So far, I've done 2 episodes. I'm streaming the process. I've done 2 episodes of it, and we have the ultra basic factory mechanics up, and the player can move around and stuff. And his stats are indeed tied to the factory mechanics now. Oh, you know what? I don't think I want to do it like this. Let's see. I want to do it like this. A little bit dark there. Just picking the right color to bring out the shadows here, because I want some areas down in kind of the guts of the pleats here. The guts of the braids. To be just a bit darker. I don't think they're quite dark enough. So I'm just gonna put that together. Over here, because the light sources behind her is going to be nice and bright. But some of these other parts that are not directly in the light will be a bit darker. And with any luck, I finished the hair today. And that'll be fantastic. Anime hair, man. It's just always there. And it'll always haunt me. Because the anime girls must be at least 30% hair. Otherwise, they're fake anime girls. And I feel like 30% is on the low side. Alright, so I'm just gonna kind of buff out my shadows here until I'm satisfied. And after that, is there anything else I want to do? I'll have to think about that. Right now, I feel like what I'm doing here is a little bit too soft. So at the end, I'll probably go through and make it more hair-like, but well, let's just get the basics in there for now. One thing at a time. This picture has been really interesting, though, because I have been trying many a new thing, and I think it's been going pretty well. I really like the way it looks. I am honestly really looking forward to finishing hair finally, and being able to dig into the clothes. That's going to be a good time. Is this above or below the... This should be below the flower, right? Okay. For a second there, it felt like I was making this stem of the flower a little bit darker, but no, it is just optical illusion since I'm making the colors around it so much darker. I'm pretty sure it's still the same, and therefore all good. So at least for the time being, I'm gonna make the difference in shadows here is super duper soft. I'm not sure if I want to keep it that way, but this, like I said, this is science. I am testing things. So I'm going to do a version where I keep it super duper soft. where I just kind of let it fade out to nothing here, and it's just a very, very smooth gradient that's barely noticeable. And then I'm going to add a new layer at the end here, and I'm going to try to blend it in a little bit more and see how that looks. I'm not quite sure which version I will like better, so I'm going to give myself the opportunity to try both. Why choose? And mostly, I just want the parts that are just like really deep, you know, where they all kind of connect up in the center here, to be super dark. And I'm not quite sure how I want it to be on the braids themselves, but here's got to be darker. Because I mean, if I take off this layer for a second, you can see the difference. I already like the difference in contrast more. I already think that's looking pretty good. It's just up here where I'm not quite sure. That's okay. That's why I'm taking the time to kind of blend things out very softly, so that this way I can safely try things. It'll be nice and easy to try things. And I can even, you know, do what I'm doing here and turn the layer on and off, and I can directly compare. There we go. But first, I just gotta get all those colors down. We'll see how they all turn out. And I'm not being extra sure to make sure those spots in the center are really, really dark. You can see that's why I'm starting with them, because that's where I press really hard. And then everything out here I press much softer. Still some though. Let's really bring out those shadows. After all, what makes things look nice is more about contrast than anything else. Contrast is fantastic. All right. Yeah, and then I remember that as I went down, I got rid of these little bright highlights. I still think that looks pretty good. At some point, I kind of want to blend in those highlights like I did up here, because I thought that looked pretty good, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I've been messing around with the shadows. I always like to do the shadows before the highlights. No particular reason, I just do. Oh yeah, and then for doing this, I'm sure that Krita has a nice soft eraser for this, but honestly, compared to the kneaded eraser down here, I just prefer making the airbrush into an eraser by clicking this button up there. I think it does a really good job, so I just prefer to work with that than try to configure other erasers, because this one already kind of does what I want. And I don't mind going to click the button up there. Sometimes I feel like I should put it on a keyboard shortcut, but I'm just not quite sure how to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if such a thing already exists. As often as I do it, you know, it might actually speed up my workflow. Okay. Let me just finish getting these all nice and soft. Oh yeah, and well, speaking of game design stuff, since Thursday when I streamed it, I have been trying to get what are essentially mergers and splitters to work. So those are going to be important. Maybe not for this first area here, but I want to make sure that I have them going real well, and that nothing's all borked. Because one of the things that I think is really important for factory games is that everything is very clear and very consistent. Because otherwise, how are you supposed to optimize your numbers? It'd be very sad. And the numbers are especially important here, because that's what's gonna make you strong. So I've been thinking pretty hard about how to implement that feature properly. Fortunately, it actually seems pretty straightforward, as you might expect, considering that the goal is just to keep all the numbers pretty similar. Ooh, and I reached the bottom of the braids. Excellent. So once I get these nice and smooth here, I'll be able to go back in and do the science that I was talking about, and figure out if I want to keep these just a very, very gentle thing, or if I want to blend them a little bit differently. I'm still not quite sure. I'm liking the way they're looking so far, though. Just been gradually building up this thing, just one step at a time. And because it's so straightforward, my mind keeps wandering and just thinking about other things too, and other things I want to try with the hair. I know that I'm going to want a few loose strands on it here, and I'm going to want a few areas in the white areas that are black, and a few areas in the black area that are white, just to make it look like her hair is a bit more woven together. I think it'll look more interesting. So I'll be adding things like that, and just a few loose strands. I want this braid to look pretty neat. Just a nice little tidy braid. So I don't want to add too many loose strands. Too many would just make it look messy. And I want this one to look nice and tight and well put together. Worthy of a fancy suit. But I think it'll look better with just a few. There's been a couple of places where I add just like a touch of loose strand, like right here, for example. And I do think it makes it look a little bit better. Because hair goes all over the place. It's wild. Oh, wait. I didn't have an eraser there. No wonder it wasn't erasing. But yes, hair is pretty wild. That's why, as long as you just have the most basic of structures, you can basically draw whatever the hell you want, and it'll look like hair. It'll just go. Especially if you're drawing hair blowing in the wind. Just put it wherever you want, it'll be fine. Alright. Oh yeah, almost there. Just takes a sec. Because of how smooth I want to get this. Want to make sure I do it right. It'll make it look better. And I am most certainly not afraid to take my time with these things. I tend to think it turns out a little bit better when I do. And my perfectionism will not allow for anything less. And I think that the stuff that I'm trying here will probably make their way into future pieces. It's been feeling weird because lately I've been doing stuff with more of a hard edge, cell shaded look. And, that... I do like it. I do like it a lot. But I don't know, I think there's places for softer things like this, so that's why I've been wanting to try it out again. There we go, just kind of getting the last couple here. Making sure that I don't get lazy at the end, because it is always real tempting to get lazy at the end and just kind of rush the rest of the way through. But I feel like that's unfair to the rest of these little braids. They deserve all the same attention as the ones above them. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't get impatient and that I take it nice and easy. There we go. That's a nice little blend there. Now I think I just need this last one on the edge here. This guy's probably going to get a couple of cast shadows from the hairpin here. But I'll still treat him like all the others. I'm not doing the bottom part just yet. I'm focusing on the braid. The little loose strands at the bottom here will come once I am totally done with the braid. So once I am happy with that, then I'll revisit those guys. But there we go. I have gone all the way to the bottom. Let me double check the ones on the top here. Yeah, I think some of these need to be a little bit softer, and I need to dig into the shadow a little bit more over here. It's not unusual for me to need to check the area that I start. Because as I go down, I kind of learn a few things. Just from trying a couple things further up. And then I can apply some of those things I picked up back to the top. So I always like to look over things just one more time before I declare things done. Just one more time. Like I said, can't get impatient. Just gotta keep going. Just gotta keep going. And yeah, there are a few spots here that still do not feel as gradated as I want. And I always just prefer doing it with the brush rather than using, say, the blur tool or something. Sometimes I feel like the blur tool gradates it a little bit too much. So unless I'm going for either a perfect gradation or I just have like a little thing that just won't smooth for some reason. That does happen sometimes. I typically stay away from the blur tool. I don't know, I just prefer the way it looks like this. Okay, but there we go. I think the rest look pretty good. Okay. So let's take a quick look of before and after. And yeah, that difference is huge. I mean, look at that. Even when you zoom out, looks so much better. Contrast is amazing. Okay. So now I'm gonna do my quick experiment where I make another layer and I take the gradient that I just made and kind of pull it in to everything else. I guess I'm starting with this black spot here. That's fine. And I see if I prefer blending it a little bit more like this, or if I want to just stick with the gradient on its own. I'm not quite sure which yet. I don't want to be zoomed in this close, though. Let's find out. You know what? I think I can actually safely say that already. I think it looks better with just the gradient. Cool. Less work for me. Alright. So I think that's where I will leave the shadows then. So now let's do a little bit of highlight science. I'll call this layer highlight science. And I will blend in just the bottoms of these little highlights here. Basically just what I did up here. So I'm already pretty confident that this is gonna look good, so I'm just gonna go in and do it. Because it looked great up top. And oh yeah, I remember that I blended in the highlights just a little bit already. So rather than being one color, you can see that the highlight here is a bit lighter than the one down here. So I already made the ones down there a little bit darker. So once again, you know, just gotta paint the little gradients. Make them look nice. Make them look soft. And just be careful not to overdo it. And you can see that I'm only doing it at the bottom. The top gets to stay a nice hard edge. But the bottoms get to kind of blend in just a little bit more. They get to hide. It's okay. So, some areas just don't want to draw too much attention to themselves. It's healthy that way. And if all goes well, this might be the last thing I do with the braid here. No, I have to do the tips and the loose strands. But I mean, just in terms of raw, basic color blending stuff, I guess. Ooh, man. And I am trying to be very, very careful because I do feel like this is one area where you can seriously overdo your blending. So I must be restrained. Just very, very restrained. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. I think that's all that spot needs. And you know what? I'll do the white areas while I'm up here. So you have these white highlights too. They're very bright and a little bit hard to see because highlights are always a little bit hard to see in white areas. So in white areas, the shadows end up being way more important. But nonetheless, I still think it would be unfair if I didn't give the little highlights here the attention that they need to. So I'll blend them in a little, make them nice and soft. Just like everything else. But doing the white ones is actually way easier than the black ones. Like, way easier. They just kind of run together. It's beautiful. I barely have to erase it all. But see, this is why I called today's episode Hair Until My Hands Fall Off. Because hair feels like that sometimes. Just lots of little things to go through if you want it to look really nice. Especially with anime girls being, you know, a good 30% hair, if not more. Katya doesn't have very much hair, so I'd say she's probably only about 30. Only about 30% hair. Okay. I think that looks good. We can do a quick before and after here. And I do think that just lights things up nicely. I do want to get rid of my blend on this cast shadow, though. I do not think the cast shadow should have blended highlights bleeding into them. Okay, that's better. But yeah, if I zoom out a little bit just to check it real quick, I do like the difference. It makes the hair look a little bit shinier in my opinion. I might tone it back just a little bit through here though. Said you got to be particular about the shadows and the black areas. Or not the shadows, the highlights. The highlights in the black areas. Because they stick out very strongly. Whereas, you know, on the white areas, the highlights don't really stick out that much. But I like it. I think it looks pretty good. Okay. Now we're doing another black one, so I gotta be careful again. Don't want to pull it too far down, don't want to overblend. I still want to keep those highlights nice and... what's the word? I don't want them to be overly soft is the main thing. Highlights don't really do that quite so much. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. I'll go do this black one before I go do the white ones. This is actually the last black one. Nice. And I can just do a little bit of derping around with loose strands. I feel like loose strands and hair are just where you get to play around. Get to have some fun. I'm gonna have to be a little bit more restrained here since I don't want there to be that many loose strands or anything, and I want the hair to look neat. But I still feel like it's just where you get to play around for a little bit. Oh yeah, and there'll be a little bit less than usual here too, because I'm not having the hair blow around in the wind or anything. She is inside. There is no wind. It just has a little bit of movement from her arm, pushing it out of the way a little bit. And that is not going to cause hair to fly around everywhere. That... you know, make it do a little dance. But nothing more than that. Those are the kinds of things that I think about when I'm drawing things. Just, okay. How is this going to move? What is this being pushed by? And how will it be lit? Man, I'm so glad that the white ones are just so simple. So I can just gently push it around. Okay. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Yes. Did I miss you? You are mostly a highlight, so I'm not surprised that you don't really show up very much there. Let's put just a little bit under her ear here. I want to keep a little bit of shadow there, just separate it from her face, but we'll lessen that just a bit. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. So yeah, let's go do some loose strands and hair mixing and stuff before I turn my light and shadows back on. So let's see, I'll put it here, and this will be... Actually, I should probably put it underneath here. This will be... I'll call it blended strands. This time we go back to my hard brush. It's been a little while. But that's okay, because all I want to do is I don't want to do it in every single one, but I just want to have a few white ones running through. A few little white strands running through some of the black ones, and a few black ones just kind of running through the white ones. I'm just making sure that they don't look like highlights, and right now that's not it. I'll leave it a little bit messy for the time being. And then I'll go back and fix it after. I'm actually kind of not digging this. Maybe I don't want to do that. That's a crazy thought. Let's see. Let me put it underneath the dark blend. That might help. What are you again? Okay, yeah, I want it above that one. So let's see if I can make this look a little bit better here. I don't think I like it. Like, I thought for sure that I'd want a few strands of the other color just running through occasionally. You know, like this. Just following the general shape still, but where you just have a few in there. That one doesn't look quite as bad. Okay, so maybe I just need to do it a little bit more sparingly. Okay, I'll try a few patterns, and I'll see if I find something that I like, and if I don't, well, you know, it just means less work. So, that's not really a problem. Okay. Let's try again with the white here. And I'll see if I can find a few spots where I think it looks okay. If I can't, it's really not that big a deal. I just won't do it. Two-toned hair is hard. It really is. Okay, yeah, I think that looks alright. Looks a little bit more interconnected, so I think I'll keep it like that. Let's go ahead and make it all look nice now. I think I want to add one through here as well. So right now it's just a little bit messy, so I just want to make it look nice, and I might need to adjust a few shadows here and there. I don't want this one right on top of the highlights, I don't think. No, it's okay. I can leave it right on top of the highlights. I just need to change the color of the highlights. And I'll do that after I kind of clean up the general shapes I got here. They're not looking too bad. I just want to make sure that they're not bleeding into other groups in an ugly way. That they look nice and woven in there. You know what? Let's not have it go through there. Let's have it go like this. Kind of come underneath. There we go. So once again, I just gotta make sure that they don't bleed into nearby pleats, and that they're kind of contained within their own groups. That's the main thing here. And then any place where the highlights overlap, I will have to go through and make sure that they are the right color. Kind of the same with a few of the shadows around here. There we go. And this should help them look much nicer than just kind of randomly being thrown around like that. But it's okay. I do find that zooming out to put things down and then zooming in to smooth them out works pretty well. I feel like I get way more accurate looking stuff when I do it like that. Okay, there we go. And I think I'll do the shadows before I do any highlights here. So let's see, we'll get some nice dark shadows down into here. And I'll just do all of that real quick. Just to make sure that they all feel like they match up properly. So any place where there's a shadow on the white side there should also be a shadow on this area that I just drew. There we go. Just kind of get those all nice and blended in. Just as gently as everything else. And then they should start looking like they belong. And then I'll just do the same for the highlights and stuff. But you know, like I said earlier, I kind of like doing the shadows first, and then the highlights. And there's no particular reason for that, I just do. So I'll, you know, go ahead and do that, because I can. Oh, you're bleeding. Can't have that. Stay in your own hair group. There we go. I can get that nice dark cast shadow in there again. Okay. There we go. I think that's all of them. So now I'm going to go revisit the highlights. And any place where there's now a black area in there, they should have the kind of more golden highlight, as opposed to the white one that I use on the white areas. And vice versa. So this guy here, make sure that the highlights on top here are nice and dark. Kind of same with this guy right here. Actually, I should be using a hard brush there, just to make sure everything gets put down nicely. And then this one here should have the white highlight. And I'll just do that until it's done. This one, I guess, is a little tricky because it needs a little bit of both. That's alright, I can do that too. It's no trouble at all. Not at all. Okay, there we go, that's all the highlights. So now that's all done. I think it looks pretty good. So, after a big stretch here, arms locking up a little bit, let's go ahead and get some loose strands. Now those ones I'm going to do all the way at the bottom. Well, I was initially planning to, but I'm kind of changing my mind here, because I do need a few to kind of cross over into other pleats. Yeah, I don't think I can put it there. Okay, I'll go put it at the top then. This is going to be another case where I just grab some nice, convenient base colors, and then I will color them properly later. And most of the strands are just going to kind of come up and back in like that. And right now that you can see that these ones are way too dark, but that's okay. because I will fix it later. One thing at a time, otherwise things get way too complicated. And this should really make the hair kind of come alive. It's going to be great. I always love the way that the hair looks like after loose strands. You can see here, this one's actually way too light. So, there are things that will have to be fixed, but that's alright. That's just how it goes. I wouldn't really call it a problem. And I don't want there to be too many, and I want them to be fairly kind of compact and going into each other. But even this much will make a really big difference at the end. Just gotta get them all in there. And, you know, like I said, I will clean it up afterward. Zoom it out for a little bit better perspective. Kind of felt like I was getting lost in there, so that's a good time to kind of zoom out and make sure that everything is going the way that I want. Just to make sure. I'm trying to vary it up somewhat. It can be hard, but I don't want them all doing quite the same thing. That'll actually make it look a little bit less hair-like. This is definitely gonna need some cleaning after I finish it, though. It's okay, that's normal. Alright. Let's put in some kind of smaller, simpler ones. Some of these are getting kind of big. But I still think her hair looks pretty neat with it like this. It just looks a little bit nicer now, right? A little bit more like hair. No, I don't like that. It was an idea. I decided I don't like it. I always think it's funny just how big a difference these tiny little just extra strands can make. They're just little guys, but they matter. All the little guys matter. They're great. They will do so much for the paintings. And that's why it's worth just spending a little bit of extra time on these things. Okay. Well, let's get some hair kind of overlapping a little bit out into here, too. We'll have some lighter strands going into these darker areas. And that should add a little bit of extra volume and other nice things that just make hair look nice. This is why hair takes forever. You may be able to draw whatever the hell you want, but there are still expectations. Okay, let's try that one again. And man, I feel like you always gotta be real particular with braids in particular. Otherwise, the loose strands just won't look right, and that's just no good. They gotta look right. It's very important. Okay, I guess that one's fine. Okay, there we go. I think I'll call that good. And then before I go and make them all the right color, I'm gonna go and smooth them out a little bit. But I think that's gonna be like the last thing I have to do for the braid part at least. And then these little loose guys up at the bottom here, I don't really plan to do too much with. I worry that they're a little bit thin compared to the sheer amount of raw hair here, but no, I really do think it looks fine. So, anywho, let me just make sure that these guys are nice and smooth and that there's not little scratchy lines hanging out like here. I don't want the lines to be scratchy. And I'm, like I said, not worried about the color. They don't have to blend in. They just have to all be connecting in a way that looks nice. So anything that is directly overlapping, I am less concerned with. Less so here for the ones that are on the inside. I kind of have to care a little bit more there about their general shapes, and I don't like how repeated this one is, so I'm gonna let it kind of die there. Oh man, more bots. I still think it's wild that people actually buy viewers. Alright. Let this guy come out there. And you can see, so some of the lines are just a little scratchy. So I'm just gonna smooth them all out. I kind of like this one. Let's go ahead and give him a little bit more of a proper presence and smooth out the scratchies. Oh man, I got real lazy about getting the lines right at the bottom. Oh, it's okay, that's why I'm doing this, just to make sure. Just to make sure. Alright, but we're at the bottom here, and then I just have to go back over and color them. And there we go. Okay, so let's get these guys colored. I'm gonna start at the top, because I like starting at the top. So all I really do for the color is I pick the color that is nearby, and I paint it. So these parts that are all, like in the super highlight area, the area in direct light, they're all just gonna be super bright. And then these guys that are more in a shadow area, oh, I'll just paint them like that. And so they should kind of match the colors that are around them. Some of them will be a little bit lighter or darker than others, where it makes sense. So like this guy, I think should be a little bit lighter than the shadows that he's near. And this guy is kind of coming out of the shadow area, so I will start him in shadow and end him in shadow. But the rest will be in light. So you can see this area is going to be a little bit lighter. Kind of the same with this guy over here. He's going to start in shadow, kind of end in it too. But the rest will be lit so that he will stick out. And I kind of want to make this guy just a little bit brighter so that this way we can kind of see him a little bit better in those dark spots. There we go. I think that looks pretty nice. And then, I just repeat all the way down. Easy peasy. It just takes a few minutes. And actually, as time-consuming tasks go, this one's not too bad. I just have the layer locked, and then I can just casually go down until I'm done. Beautiful. Nice and easy. See, locking layers is really useful. I love not being able to color outside the lines. Makes my life so much easier. think all that one looks fine like that. And I just like to make sure everything is roughly connected. I don't know what's going on with this one, so I'm just gonna kill it. It's okay, we don't need that one. Alright. Let's get this guy. It's kind of faded out to nothing. Time to pull a few shenanigans with this guy, but that's okay. There we go. See, it all works out in the end. Just gotta keep trying. Okay. And that's all of them. And now I can turn on the layers and check it. And I think it looks pretty good. So I think I can be happy with that. One more big stretch here. Alright, and now I've just got these little loose strands at the bottom here, but I don't really plan to do that much with them, because I think they mostly look fine. I just kind of want to blend in a few shadows, and that should do it. And they're already loose strands, so they don't need loose strands on the loose strands. That's a little bit too recursive for my tastes. So, I will just... I don't know, we'll just plop in some colors. Let's go. I'm just gonna do something like that, and that's probably about it, really. I just really don't think this area needs that much. I don't. Plop in a few gradients, and then it'll be good. It doesn't even have any proper highlights or anything. It'll get some attention, though. You know, I don't ignore anyone. Everyone gets to have their details done. But there we go. I think that's all I want to do. So, perfect. That's why I said I was going to ignore them until the end, because it's like, what was I going to do with them? They already looked okay. Oh man, I think hair is done. And my hands didn't even fall off. It's incredible. So, now I guess I can get back into the clothes. So I said before that I wasn't going to soften things up in the clothes like I did on the face and the hair until I had them all drawn, and I'm still planning on doing that. So I think, you know, since I'm feeling happy about finishing the hair, I'm gonna go do the hard thing, and I'm gonna draw the hand. So next up is gonna be this arm and a hand. I'll go ahead and do the hand first, because the hand will determine many a thing about the arm. So we'll get that, and I think it'll be pretty smooth sailing from there. I've already done a pretty good amount of the stuff here, so, you know, in true anime girl form, they're probably about 75% head and hair. So everything else just goes fairly quickly once I get to it. So where did I put that hand again? Near the arm? Yeah, here we are. For some reason, it's on a layer called arm. It probably had an arm on it at some point, but not anymore! Okay, so how do I feel about the size of her hand here? Yeah, we'll see how I feel about after doing this hand, if I want to go in and do the hand that's holding the mask. Alright, just thinking about how I want to tackle the pose here. This is probably more accurate to how people actually have their fingers on them, but I always prefer the more anime look, where they're kind of bending their fingers, so... I think I'll do that. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's all just stuff on the skirt that I haven't drawn. So I think that the hand, or the palm over here itself looks pretty okay. I mean, it's not refined. I'll have to smooth it out a bit, but I'm just gonna change the shape of these fingers a little bit. And I'm just gonna do this, because I think doing stuff like this tends to look pretty nice. Right now the fingers are looking a little gangly, so I should fix that. that one is definitely long. Oop, there we go. That's a bit better. And then I just kind of shape them until you get fingertips. And it's really not much trouble. Hands are not that bad once you get used to them. I don't actually think we see the thumb. I think the thumb will just be going behind her, so that will, you know, go out like this over here, and I don't actually think we see it. Maybe a little bit as it goes around. We'll see if I change my mind, but I'll leave it like that for now. Let's just go in and get the rest of the fingers. And at some point, a hand will just spontaneously exist, and it's magical. I think I actually kind of want that one to be a bit higher than the rest. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go look up a reference real quick just to make sure I'm doing this right, because something feels a little bit weird. So, let's go look something up here. Alright. Show me your fingers. Okay, yeah, that's a bit more like I was expecting it. And why my fingers weren't quite working out for me. So I'm actually gonna lower this guy a little. We're gonna bring him down here, make him a little straighter. Same idea, but just not quite as strong. I want this one to be going up and down quite a lot. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. It's amazing how just a quick 30-second look at a reference can make a difference here. They're great if you get stuck. And frankly, even if you don't, it can stop you from getting stuck in the first place. It's great. Alright, let's put a little bit more sass in those fingers. I'm just gonna get the general gist of things real quick, and then I'll worry about refining it. Like I said, right now the fingers feel a little bit long and gangly, so I'll be doing something about that at some point. Part of it is just that they're also kind of thin, so that'll be part of fixing that. Okay. So there's at least the start here. Can you get me a little more info on the wrist? Okay. I think I get it. So her wrist is covered, so I think I want it to be a little bit more like that. I'll get the sides of the fingers in here, and then there's these guys are kind of together. So we'll put a little gap in there. I still feel like the fingers are really, really long, but I think it's actually less that the fingers are long and more that her palm is really short. So I'll fix that. That's kind of the nature of proportion. They are the size of things are relative to other things, so that means that you can fix it in either direction, in theory. So I can either, if I feel like the fingers are too long compared to the hand, I can increase the size of the palm, or I can decrease the size of the fingers. Both work. depending on what you need and how things are compared to other parts of the body and whatnot. Okay. I'll let this fingertip kind of go behind the hand here just a little. I think due to the angle that's kind of necessary. Okay, we're getting there. I still feel like the fingers are really, really long though. So let's start kind of adjusting that. And now that I'm getting into more proportion-y things, I want to zoom out again, now that I kind of have my basic shapes in. Okay, the pinky got a little bit too short. I think I actually want it to come down a little bit more. Yeah, I think I do. So let's try that one again, and what this one's gonna do is it's gonna come kind of out and down. There we go. Kind of more like this, a little bit straighter with maybe just a slight curve at the bottom here. And I'm just using a darker color for my other segment for now. I think some of them will stay like that, but this pinky in particular probably won't. But it does make it a little bit easier for me to visualize how the fingers are sitting. So I always like to start with something like that. Okay. Palm feels fat. Okay, so now I can kind of liquefy things into place here. How does the size of her hand feel? Does it feel small or does it feel okay? Maybe a little small. I'm just looking at it relative to her face here. We're looking at her a little bit more head-on, so I'm kind of keeping that kind of shape there. So I think right now, at least with how I have it shaded, we're seeing a little bit too much at the side right there, so I'm going to kind of lessen that. We do see a little bit of the side of the pinky here, a little bit of the side of these fingers here. This one is less the side and more that there's just a shadow there, a cast shadow from this finger being on top. But otherwise, I think that seems okay. Yeah, that seems alright. Let's go ahead and put the sleeve on it. So what's going to happen with the sleeve here is I do have a cuff around it. I'm going to ignore the cuff for just a second here while I get the rest of it on there. And okay, I need this guy to be a little bit longer through here. I want the sleeve to kind of wrinkle around on this, so I want to make it look like the hand is pushing it upward a little bit. So we'll wrap around like this, and we'll just have a little wrinkle, pushing the cuff upward a little. Then it'll go back right there. Let's go ahead and make this part the lighter color, actually, before I start sending it back. And I'll put in folds after. This is all going to be in the golden trim color. Right now I'm just doing it in black because I have the trim clipped. So if I don't, it'll be weird. I'll just put in whatever shadows are necessary for me to understand what it is that I'm doing here. Because I do think I need a little bit of help understanding. Art is hard after all. So there we go. We'll send it in. down here, up here. And I think that's about how I want it to be. Maybe this part is sticking out just a little bit too much, but there we go. And I can put the back of it onto here. And so I think it'll be like this. And this side is pushed up enough that I do not actually think... Or maybe we do. Do we see the back here? Maybe just a little bit. So there we go. Now it's wrapping around her hand, and I think that is roughly correct. I don't think the shadows are in exactly the right place, but it's probably close enough. So I'll go with that. The arm already doesn't look too bad. It just needs to be smoothed. And I do think that before I get all of this stuff here, I kind of want to get this area around her stomach. Yeah, that seems okay. I'm just looking around here, and I'm wondering if I have everything right over here. Oops. No, I didn't want to set you to multiply, my bad. I'm gonna take off her braid for just a second so I can look and make sure that all of this is looking okay. Because right now, I think I might have a little bit too much of her back showing. So like right here, I think I should shave off just a little bit right through here. And then have a little bit more arm. I believe I have the sleeve on a separate layer, so I'll just plop that in. Kind of coming out a little bit more from there. Okay. Fortunately, most of that area is covered up by hair, so I think this should be fine. But yeah, there we go. So basically all I'm saying is that there should be a little gap right there or something. I don't know if I like that, actually. Let's find out. Let's find out. That's fine. Okay. Alright, I think it's fine. Do I feel like trying to tackle the other hand today? I don't think I do. I think that this hand might, and the mask, might be the first thing I do next time. So we'll just do some kind of easier stuff for now. Alright. Let's see, what do I feel like doing? I think before I finish smoothing out the hand there, I'm gonna go ahead and do her shirt. Do some easy stuff for a second. I can tell after all of the hair science that my brain is getting tired. So let's just do some simple stuff for just a little bit. I want the shadow on the shirt to kind of follow the shadow here, so I said that it only went down like that. And I don't mind this one rounding out a little bit, since her chest should be round. That's how they work. I'm gonna hide her neck thing here. Where did I put that? There it is. Okay, so let's hide that for just a second, so this way I can get some nice folds in here. Get some of the cast shadows there. We'll get something like this. And I didn't really see any of these things here, any of these folds, so I'm not going to worry about them. But I do want to make sure that at least around here that they're looking pretty nice and pretty round. That seems kind of important. Okay. And that seems pretty alright. And then I see that this part over here is looking pretty choppy. So I'll go ahead and smooth that out real quick. That is actually on the suit layer, not the top layer. So I just gotta smooth that and make that look nice. And then I can get the shadows from her neck thing. And then I can just smooth it all out. It'll be great. And strictly speaking, I don't think that this plane is necessarily facing the light source here, but I think it looks better this way. If that makes any sense whatsoever, but like I did think about lighting this part here, but I think that if I did that, it would actually make her chest look a lot smaller, so I'm just gonna keep it like this. I'm just gonna keep it like this. And I do like the idea of having a couple of folds in here, just so that it wraps around the lapel and kind of keeps that separate from the window. Stops them from getting lost in there. Now I'm just gonna do the shadows on the lapel for now. It'll get some highlights later. But I don't want that to happen until I'm ready to handle the rest of the trim. The trim layer I currently have hidden. So I'll do that in that order. Okay. So now that part feels pretty smoothed out. Is it right, though? Yeah, I think it's okay. Maybe just a touch of straight line right through there. I want to make sure the shape of her chest is quite good. It's another area that, let's be real, people will always stare at. So anytime I know that there's a place people are going to be looking, I try to put a little bit more effort into it. It's for the best. Okay. So now I can smooth out these areas, add a few shadows from this guy here, and a lot of shadows over here. This is sitting against her chest, so there's not going to be too many. Or rather, it's not going to be too thick. But there will be some stuff there. And then over here, this guy is sitting a fair distance away, so I'll put his shadows a little bit further. There we go. That should do it. Just a little bit more smoothing. I'm not quite happy with the smoothness yet. Okay, there we go. That should do it. And then I have these little black buttons. I think their location is good, but they are just super blurry, so I'm just fixing them up. This way they don't look quite so blurry. And they're not really going to be decorated at all. They're just kind of there. Okay, but there is one more thing that I would like to do with this, and I don't think I currently have a, like, super duper shadow color on the red, so let's go ahead and make one. I'm just going to set my brush to multiply, pick a nice kind of light purple, and I'll just plop in a line here. A little darker. Only a little, though. And this will be where her shirt is buttoned. I already have her neck thing all figured out, so I know that this is where it'll go. And this side will be a little bit thinner. And I do believe that this is the correct way for this to be, because on women's blouses like this, they are backwards compared to how they are on men's shirts, because back in ye olden days, women didn't dress themselves. So they put the buttons on the side that made sense for somebody else to be buttoning your shirt for you. At least on women's clothes. Yes. I believe that is no longer true for men's clothes, but it still is on women's clothes for some reason, even though we mostly dress ourselves now. Weird holdovers. Okay. There we go. So that should just complete the entire shirt area there. Do I feel like trying to smooth out the hand? I probably should. I'm just feeling a little bit lazy right now. You ever get those moments where, you know, it's all fine, but you're just feeling kind of lazy? It happens to me more often than I like to admit, if I'm being honest. Alright, let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Let's go do the hand. Where did I put it anyway? I keep getting lost in all my layers. There it is. Okay. I'll start with the arm. So I might have to adjust the cape here a little bit. The idea is that the arm is kind of pushing it off to the side. But I think what I'll do is instead is actually kind of adjust her arm a little bit. I kind of like the angle being a little bit sharper up here. I think that looks pretty okay. And that'll let it kind of merge together with the cape a little bit better. It's just gonna sit on the other side of her elbow. I think that's pretty good. And I want it to stick out here just a little beyond that. Because I think it'll make it more clear that her elbow is pushing it, and then right now after that change, her arm is looking super thick here, so let's tone that down a bit. I do like my characters to be strong, but there are limits. Because if you make their arms too big, they just start looking fat, as opposed to strong. If that's what you're going for, then, you know, perfect, but it's not what I'm going for here. Alright. That seems pretty okay. Yeah, that does seem pretty okay. But I do have to kind of get it into final state territory, so let's smooth it out just a little bit more here. Make that look a little bit nicer there. And at some point I will have to go in and add where I think the folds are. Right now, what I have is a little bit too big, I think. So I will add a little bit of bunching right around here. And it was fine to have the big exaggerated ones until this point. But, you know, now it's time to move beyond that. Into the final state and just how I want it to be at the very end. And so we get something a little bit more like this. And then there'll be another little bunch right here. There we go. Something like that. And I do think that looks a bit better. So I'll go ahead and smooth that out once I'm satisfied with the width of her arm, which, I don't know, up here, let me add in the light as I think it should be. I still think it feels a little bit big, because part of it is supposed to be hidden by the cape, and that might have been what was throwing my past self off just a little bit here. So it should look a little bit thinner than what I would normally make it. Which does mean that this fold I put in will be affected. So let me zoom out a little. I don't know, that looks real thin though. It's like part of it is supposed to be hidden by the cape, but that much, I'm not sure. Let's mess around with that a little until I'm kind of happy with the thickness there. And right now, I feel like if I continue... Let's break out some hot pink. If I continue this line I just made all the way to the end, so from the elbow all the way through here, it doesn't line up with her shoulder. So this doesn't seem quite right yet. The shoulder's here. It should be more like this. So that might also be kind of what's throwing me off. Let's fix that. So that will be this angle right here. I'm gonna leave that hot pink mark there just as a reference to me, to make it a little bit easier to draw it. Okay, but that looks pretty alright. And if I adjust the shadows to better match the angle, is it better? I think I can even lower the elbow a little. Ooh, that'd be good. Because if I'm able to do that, then that means I'll have a little bit more sticking out from the cape. And that'll make it a little bit more clear what's happening, in my opinion. Here, you know what? I hid the other part of the cape while I was working on it, so let's go ahead and add it back. There we go. There's the other part of the back of the cape. And it does look a little bit more like the arm is pushing it out of the way to me. Let's actually mess around with that a little bit too. Because now I feel like this whole thing should be tilted a little bit. Coming a little bit more straight down after being pushed out of the way. Yeah, something like this. And I'll just send it down a bit. And don't worry, I'll go and fix the back part of the cape once this part is done. Let's just get that looking good first. I wanted to have some nice energy to it. There we go. Give it a nice curve at the bottom. Have a nice little curl there. So you know those nice little curls are always important. Okay, and now I can adjust the rest of it. Okay, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And the arm looks like it's pushing it out of the way nicely. Yeah, I'd say so. There might be a few things that I kind of want to clean up a bit there. So I'll zoom in a bit and get this connected through here a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about cleaning it up yet. Right now we're doing the elbow, not the cape. But it just the cape will help me figure out a little bit about how that elbow is supposed to behave. So, yeah, mostly this top part. But now with the top part kind of handled, I think that this is looking all right. It does look like it's being pushed behind the elbow, in my opinion. All right. Let's see. I kind of want to get this back part being a little bit more interesting. This is so not important right now, but whatever. I want to do it right now, so I am. Like I said, feeling just a little bit lazy today. Let's do some simple things. Okay. A little bit straighter here, I think. Just a little. And then I do think... Well, do we? No, we don't, actually. Okay, I was gonna say, I think we might see a little bit of the red side. Like, if you assume, if you hold out a cloth, or basically I have it so that the inside is completely blue, and then the backside is completely red. So it's only the inside here that's kind of the bluish color. So the red part that we have going here on this side is going to be facing toward the window, so I don't think we see it at all. I think what I have is correct. I just need to get it curving the same way as the other side. Okay, no, in that case, if I'm gonna have it curved like that, we do see a little bit of the front. It's just gonna be like this. There we go. If I'm gonna have it curved, then yes, we do see just a little bit of the front on this side. But there we go. Okay. Well, that was a bit silly, but that's okay. I think I have it about right. Let me make this just a touch straighter. It shouldn't be curving quite that much. And then her body is pretty straight down at the bottom here, so I don't want these to be significantly higher or lower than the other. There we go. Pointless a little. But I'll have to do it eventually. Might as well be now. While I want to. Okay. Now then, let's stop procrastinating on the hand and the arm and get back to it. Because now I think I can safely say that I see how the arm is pushing the cape back. And I think it's all okay. I do think that the arm is still maybe just a little bit thin up at the top. So I will fix that. But I do think that the angle is much better. So, progress was made. Let's just make it a little thicker. So Katya can be strong. Make sure she's nice and strong. So it seemed like the width I had before wasn't bad. It wasn't the problem. It was just that I had the angle wrong and it wasn't connecting with her shoulder. It was connecting up on her brooch for some reason. Okay. Now I want this part to line up perfectly here. And then this thing that it's kind of tangenting with right now is just some lighting in the background, which is not my concern for the moment, so I don't need to fix it. This will be fine. I will fix it when it comes time for the background, because the background should be dictated by the character. The character is the most important thing here. And so I will not be adjusting the character based on some arbitrary stuff in the background. That's just backwards. I adjust the background to accommodate the character. And that's the way it should be. Most of the time. Okay. So I do want it a little flat there. I don't want it to be just totally pointy. She does not need to be able to stab people with her elbow. Her elbow does not need to be a lethal weapon, as funny as it would be. I gotta admit, sometimes my husband's elbows feel like lethal weapons, so I know how it is. But even his elbows are not a perfect point, so fortunately for my stomach sometimes. Okay. So now I'm actually trying to go through and smooth this all out. Get things going to where they need to go and whatnot. And again, I don't think I'm going to touch the cuff very much at all. I do need to get its edges smooth. But in terms of shading, I guess I can turn on my trim layer. It's probably not the right spot. But yeah, you can see, that's how it's actually going to work. It's going to be gold, and it's going to be on the trim layer. It's just not yet time, so I want to handle the trim layer after I have everything else drawn. I don't think it makes sense to do it beforehand. I don't, truly. I think that's this part of her arm pretty well smoothed. Yeah, that's pretty good. And now I can get this one. Okay, no, that's just some dirt on my screen. That is not something on the picture. Easy mistake to make. I'll get this just the way I want it to be. But I think before I handle the inside here, I kind of want to get a little bit more information about this hand. Because it's still pretty vague. So let's do it. Let's not be lazy and go draw the hand. Let's see, I think this should come in a little bit more. And I'll let the thumb kinda come out and around over here. Actually, you know what? I think what I will do instead is I'm just gonna move the hand up a little. There we go, and then the thumb will disappear. And see, this is why I didn't want to completely do everything with the arm, because I found it likely that I might move the hand around a little bit, and, you know, I was right, so. Let's get this back on the wrist. I'm going to hide the black part of the skirt a little bit. Where is that? Okay, no, those are the back ones. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna hide the black part for now. And I'm gonna get all of this stuff smoothed, at least on the edge. And then I can do the hand. And actually, all that red is in the way too, so let's get rid of that. I'll just do it like this for now. Let's see. Let's have a nice little stretch here. Phew. Stretch. Stretch. Okay. You know, I'm kind of surprised that my head was going down there, huh? Really. Fascinating. Okay. You know, watching my model is teaching me so much about how I move around, I swear. Just things I have never observed. Never. Okay. Now I can adjust this arm again. And hopefully everything looks a little bit more correct with all of this. Okay. I'm still not quite happy with how the hand is pushing that part of her sleeve out of the way. I don't know, let's take a look. I'm gonna go find a reference to see how suit fabric behaves. Because it's gonna be a little bit stiffer than a lot of things, and yeah, I might add some more little folds in there. Do I just have her suit drawn too long? Because I might. Because when I go look at my references here, I do not actually see very many that have to push the cuff out of the way. I also don't see very many with cuffs this strong, to be fair. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. I've got a few other things to fix here. Let's see. Where are my hands? There we are. I'm gonna pull the fingers back just a little bit here. And squish things. I do think I will have to make this hand a little bit bigger. But I do think that this shape is better. So I'm gonna go drag it up by her face just so I can more directly compare. Because I always base the size of the hands on the size of the face here. No, that's probably a little bit too big. And at least on women, their hands cover up about half their face. Just probably a little bit less than half. I don't mind her hands being slightly bigger than average, though. For whatever reason. I don't know, I think having slightly large hands suits her. Okay, there we go. Like right about here. Yes? Is that still too small? Her fingers aren't curled that much. So no, I do think it is still slightly too small. You just check it. Yeah, that seems a little bit better. Okay. Oh yeah, that still looks pretty casual to me, and I think I want to stretch out her middle fingers just a little bit more. So I'm gonna do that like this, and then I'll just squish them back in to make them the right length. Pinky feels a bit long, and also a bit weirdly shaped over there. Get this a little bit more to how the pinky is actually shaped here. There we go. And that's probably why it feels so long. Because it is. There. So something like that. And yeah, so from what I can see, I don't need the folds to be quite like that now that I've looked at a picture of a suit. So let me kind of try to describe what I saw. So I saw lots of folds kind of coming up like this. It was more round folds, so kind of like that. And then the cuff did not actually fully reach the wrist, so it was a little bit more like that. I'll move the hair for just a second so that this way I can see what I'm doing and kind of draw it all properly. And so we had, let's go in and put in the wrist here. Kind of connects into here, and then back over to here. I haven't decided how long I wanted to make these gloves yet. I should probably do that, but I'll just leave it red for now. I can decide that after I kind of get them drawn. And I am so glad that I looked up a reference of a suit here, because I feel like I have a greater understanding of what I need to do in order to make this work. I think it'll help a lot. Okay. So there's a little bit of a bump where the palm is sitting on the hip here, but I think that point is actually a little further over. So like more like right here as opposed to where I had it there. Okay. So now let's go back to trying to figure out the sleeve. So the way that this is turning, so it'll go this way and up and back. And the hand does not really push it out of the way, it's just not that long. And once again, it'll go this way. This is just how it'll wrap around the hand. I'm thinking in terms of cross sections here, so you can kind of draw lines going down the arm, and that'll help you determine which way things are going. So like this one, if you wanted to wrap something around it, you'd do it this way, as opposed to this way, which will... actually that looks better for that side. But not for this side, right? Yeah. This side is going down this way. So if I wanted to wrap something around, it'd be like that. I always get them backwards, so I find it very useful to go draw them. That's why I got that one wrong. Happens all the time. I do get them backwards just all the time, but I do think that this one is going downward like that. Okay. And I want the cuffs to be kind of big. And just due to how this is, it's going to be squished a little. So we'll have a fold kind of coming down here. So it'll be kind of like that, and then this side will be stretched a little. There we go. And yeah, I think that this is a good width for the arm. And then when I look at these pictures of suits, we're actually getting a lot of little folds, stretching it from the shoulder too. So I'll put in a few running down the side like this. And then they'll kind of get disrupted a little bit at the elbow. And we'll get something like that, and I think I can make that look good once I smooth it all out. So that should be fine. And we get a little bit of the back of the cuff here. And there we go. I think that looks much better than what I had before. And I do have to refine the hand right now, but I think that the relative size of things is okay. Like, I mean, the knuckle right here is way off. And I think I want to stretch out this finger a little bit more. But for the most part, I think this looks okay. So I think it is probably about ready for smoothing. And I don't want to over smooth. So let's go turn the hair back on. A bit unfortunate that's right on top of the cuff, but I think once the cuff turns gold, it'll be fine, since it is a different color. So I think it'll still be clear what's happening here. Alright. I think I'll start with the hand. I was debating, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna start with the hand. So I'm gonna zoom out real quick. I just want to make sure she doesn't look kind of chunky. Still kind of feel like her midsection's a bit big. And actually, you know what? I think will help her midsection the most. Where are those buttons? I think I just kind of want to make them straighter. What song is this? It is just some royalty-free music that I found. I'll send you to their channel once I find it. There it is. So you can find it right here. Yeah, along with a bunch of other just royalty-free music that you can use for streams. It was called All a Lie by No Band Stream, for their album The Spirit Within. Okay, rotate this. That's fortunate. I don't drink coffee at all. So, fortunately, that is something I will be able to avoid. But thanks for the heads up. Did you have to suffer something terrible in order to pass on this advice? Unfortunate. There we go. I think that should be a little bit better there. Let's see. Yeah, I think she was just leaning a little bit too much. And now I should be able to fix her side over here. And make her not look quite as chonky. There we go. And I'll fix the belt later. Okay. Yeah, that looks a lot better. I've been having issues with her tummy, so I'll be happy once I can fix them. Okay. Anyway, now with my distractions out of the way, let's go and render a hand. Let's just go do that. Okay. Let's see here. I still want that finger going out a bit more, so I'm gonna pull it up just a bit. And I can send it out. It'll be great. We'll just get a little shape like that, and I'll leave it there for now. Because I think I want to get this underside where it's, making contact with her hip. I think I want to get that first. Okay. I say that, but then I go back to doing the top. Who knows? Brains are weird. But no, I do want to get where it's kind of connecting with her hip here. I think that point of contact is the most important part of this hand. And if I can make that point of contact look convincing, then the rest will just kind of come. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty nice. And right now, I'm mostly just focused on the outside, as I tend to be when I'm just getting the rendering going. Oh, thank you. Well, it's not done, but I do think it is in a better spot. But I mean, it's normal, right? Because the first step is just getting something down. And then you can kind of shape it into something that makes a little more sense. I don't know. Is that pinky rotating a little bit too much? I think it is. Let's push it back in here. I wanted it to get far away from the other fingers here, but maybe not that far. Alright, so now I'm just going to sculpt the rest out. No, I like that little point there. I don't want to erase it. Let's turn this from a claw into a fingertip. I'm going to add just a little more weight onto this side. And that should do it. And then I want to add a strong point right here where I have decided the finger is bending. There we go. She's wearing gloves, so I will not be, like, drawing fingernails or anything. So I'm just gonna pull the shape out here. Slowly but surely. Just gonna pull it on out. It's there somewhere, I just have to find it. Okay. Get the side in, and then find the point where I feel like there's maybe some folds in the glove, but I'll do that later. I don't have to do that right now. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, let's get the index finger. I always like to do the index finger and the pinky first, to get the spots on the ends. It makes it a little bit easier for me to measure out where the center finger should go. I feel like it's just a little bit thin, so I'm making it just a tad thicker. And that should be fine. And then at this angle, there should be a fold on the glove going down here. And that should make it look a little bit less unnaturally bent. There we go. Yeah, I find it helpful. It just makes things a little bit easier for me. So for here, since she was touching something, I wanted to focus on that point of contact. But now that I've got the pinky in, I think I can do the index finger pretty well. Let's see. I don't think it should connect that far back. So let's extend the length of the palm here just a little. It's gonna make the finger look really gangly for a second. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. There's nothing quite as horrifying as a drawing in a work-in-progress state. Especially when I'm drawing it. My whips are always very special. Just due to the nature of how I handle things. Because I kind of like just sculpting my shapes out of it. As opposed to, you know, most people, when they sketch, they do these nice little lines, and it all just comes out of those nice little lines, and it might be messy as hell, but you're not gonna get weird body horror from that. Let's see, is this finger too long? It might be. I want to get the shape before I worry about the rest of the proportions, I think. Alright, so there's the side of the finger. And then it's bending down a bit. I just like keeping the segments in shadow. I find it a little bit easier for me to visualize. I can always fix how it bends later. And actually, I think that this finger should be bending upward. Let's have that just really push into her side a little bit. There we go. Kind of more like that. Okay, so that feels like it's pushing into her side a bit. I want to make this part a little thicker, and I'll just keep gradually sculpting that shape here until I'm happy with it. And I think something like that is fine, and I can fix other things as they become a problem. But I think in terms of shape, that's probably fine. I might make the tip a little bit longer. Like I said, I think that the finger might be a little bit long, but I want to get the proportions relative to itself looking good before I start comparing it with the palm and the other fingers. So, right now, I wanted to make sure that this part was proportionate to this part, and that's it. I'll worry about the rest once I have the basic shapes of the rest of the fingers drawn. Okay, so now these fingers in the middle are a total mess. That's okay. It actually is. I'm not even being ironic there or saying things that are blatantly untrue. It's totally fine. I do have to get them out of that state. But for what they were before, it's totally cool. Hehe. Well, hands are very expressive. I do think that for people just learning how to draw, the two things that'll improve your drawings the most are getting good at the face and the hands, because they are just very, very expressive. I don't really mind hands too much. My nemesis is arms. Arms is what I consider the hard thing to draw. I don't know what it is. But they always trip me up. I don't mind hands too much. You can do a lot of cool things with them. Alright, I want to make it clear that the index finger is kind of behind the middle finger there, so just gonna add a little line. Yeah, I don't quite understand what it is, but it's certainly something. Alright, once again, I'm just gonna focus on getting these two fingers proportionate to themselves before I worry about getting them right with the other fingers. I just find working like that a little bit easier for me personally. So there we go, just sculpt that shape out of there. And let's see, I do feel like the tips here are a little bit too long, so let's just scooch them back a little bit. And I want them to be a little bit straighter than this. Whoop. There we go. Now we got fingers. I might actually separate them a little. Let me see. I kind of liked having them together, but let's see how they feel if I just have like a little tiny gap here. I do think it feels a little bit more natural, so I'm gonna do it like that. Which does mean I need to make this finger just a little thicker, since we're gonna get a little bit more of the whole thing, and then much like the index finger, I want them to be kind of pushing on her side a little bit, so the fingertips will go upward just a little. Not as much as the fingertip, or the index finger. But yes, both of them will go up just a little. The pinky gets to stay downward because it's not really pushing on anything. Not at all. It's just kind of there. I feel like that's true about pinkies in general. They're just kind of there. They can't really do too much that's useful. Okay, there we go. Now they're just kind of carved out there, and I think they're looking pretty okay. I just want to turn the fingertip on the ring finger upward a little bit more. So I'll plop that shape in there. Okay. And I can see that there's still a little bit of overlap right here. So I'll paint that in. Okay, how are we looking? You know, the fingers aren't actually as long as I thought they were. I think they're a little bit long, but it's not as bad as I feared. But yeah, I think that looks pretty alright. I probably won't keep the fingertips here completely in shadow once I go into the final version. I just kept it like that for visualization's sake. Makes them a little bit easier to draw when I draw out the segments in different colors. It's just one of those things that I find helpful. And I'm not quite sure I like this right here. I'm gonna have to think about how to fix that. Anyway, let's get the finger lengths a little bit better. I think they're mostly fine. I actually don't think I have to correct as much as I thought that I might. So it's only gonna be a little. Just a little bit. But it's fine. I almost never get it right the first time. That's why I like to kind of do it in stages, where first I get each piece right relative to themselves. So I kind of make sure that the back of the palm here looks good with the top and all that kind of thing, and then I make sure that each finger, the segments, are good relative to themselves, and then I can go back and get all the fingers good lengths relative to each other, and then I can get the relative to each other and relative to the palm. I like doing it kinda piece by piece. Otherwise, it's just a lot of information all at once, because there's lots of little things in hands. There's lots of things happening. Okay. Now the palm actually feels a little bit long, so I might have overdone it. Just go push it back a little. Do I need to make it bigger now? Did I overdo it? A little bit. Okay. Well, that's fine. And you know, once again, I got the hand proportionate to itself, and now I can get it proportionate to the head and the rest of the body, since I mostly measure things from the head. And there we go. I think that is a pretty okay. So now I can kind of mess with those little things that kind of niggled at me. So one part of it is I still think I want something a little bit stronger here. I just want this to push a little harder. And then I think I want a slightly darker shadow in there. And I have one now, where the finger is just overlapping here. Okay, and then I'll put in a few folds because the cloth is supposed to be kind of thick. kind of pawing at it until it does what I want. There we go. That's better. I think that's about where I want it, and yeah, that little bit of extra shadow helped a lot there. I think this part might be a little thick, so let's just tone it down a bit. Nope, nope. Nope. Okay. Better. Okay. And I still feel like this top part is a little off. I want it to connect to the wrist a little more nicely here. There we go. Okay, and I think that should be okay. So now I'll just start smoothing out the fingers. I actually think the index finger already looks pretty good. I didn't have to change it very much. Alright. But then some of these other fingers are just a little bit rough around the edges. So I can go through and smooth them out. And I just always like to get the outside before I go in and do the inside, because then I can lock the layer and not have to worry about coloring outside the lines at all. And that just makes dealing with the center parts way easier. Way, way easier. Okay, I kind of want to perfect the fingertip here. I always feel like when it comes to hands, the fingertip is like the most important part. Gotta get that pointing in the right direction, be the right width, and all that good stuff. And here I would just want to add just a little bit of pressure from where it is touching her body. Just a little. Okay. And then I can get the next finger. I actually think the pinky looks mostly okay. So there won't be much to do with it, so this is going to be the last finger where I feel like I still have a lot to do. But fortunately, fingers are small. Okay, he's feeling a little thick, and I think I can afford to have a little bit more of a gap between it and the pinky. Like, if you look at your hand, the gap between the ring finger and the pinky is a little bit bigger than all the other ones. So I can afford to make this just a little slimmer. Okay, then round out the fingertip. I think this one is putting a little bit less pressure on her body than the middle finger is. So I won't make the tip curve up quite as strongly. There we go. Have a little bit of a stronger point right over there. Alright, yeah, and I think that looks pretty good. I think I pulled the hand out of there nicely. Hand cramping a little, but it's all good. And now I can just draw some of the rest of the features on there. So let's see. First off, easy one. There's going to be a shadow under here. From there, how much? Oh wait, no, there's a little blah spot on the pinky still, just right here. There we go. It is no longer lumpy. I am satisfied. Okay, so now I can lock the layer. Alright, so I know that on the index finger, it is kind of going behind the other fingers. So I'll plop a shadow in here. And then how do gloves work? You know what? I'm gonna go find a reference. These gloves aren't that thick, so I don't really want to look for thick gloves. But they're not like super thin. So let's see. How about soft gloves? Okay, that's a decent material. Just gonna stare at this for a second. Okay, I think I see how it goes. So what I'm seeing is that you get a little bit of cloth kind of pulled up from the wrist up into where the fingers are pulling it. No, I don't think I'm quite going for silk. Silk is a little bit too shiny, but it's adjacent. I don't think I'll draw any seams on them. I think that's maybe a little bit more detail than I need. But basically what I see is a few folds just going up from the wrist up into whatever's pulling it. No, even that's a bit too much detail. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. I do want to show the sides, though. Okay. And then, you know what? I think I want a shadow that is, like, halfway between the actual shadow color and the normal color, so I'm just gonna reduce my brush to 50% opacity, and I'm gonna take that color. Maybe slightly more. Yeah, here we go. So I will use that color for the fingertips. I don't know, full shadow color just felt a little bit too strong. And some of this is gonna get blended later. And this one, I actually do think I want to keep a little bit more in shadow as it goes down. So it's just gonna kinda have a little bit up at the top. And then since it's going away from us a little, I don't know, do I like that? Nah. I think it'll look better like this. Okay. And then I can add just some lumpy spots to represent the folds there. Okay, right here I feel like it's still a little bit unrefined. So I'll pull that out just a little. Head on down. There we go. This one's a little flatter than some of the other ones, so I might actually reduce that even too. Oh, hello there, Chic Freak. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, everyone. So I am Planckera, and I draw things. Actually, I guess I should say I make things in general. So today, we are drawing Katya Sable, a VTuber of a Variance project. I like them a lot. Oh, thank you. I drew and rigged it myself, so I always like seeing that people like it. Oh, and hello there, Kata Meowington. Thank you for the raid. So, welcome again, raiders. 2 raids back to back. Thank you very much. So I am Planckera, and I like to make things. So today we're drawing Katya Sable, a Variance project. She is a VTuber, and I like Variance project quite a lot. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, today is a drawing, and then on Thursdays I am also working on making a video game. So I'm making a Metroidvania with some factory elements. Where the better you build your factory, the better your stats are, and it's a good time. I have been looking forward to making this for a while. But today is just drawing. We're doing hands. I actually don't find hands to be that bad. I think I have some of my fingers a little thin though, so I should fix that. So just finishing up hands here. Yeah, it's been pretty great. I hope your stream went well. Thank you. Yes, on my model here, I just want to do something simple, and you know what is more simple than bright lights? Bright lights are great. I love them. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit better there. Just rounding that out there. Yes. Ah, I see. That makes sense. What were you playing? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I just felt like those fingers were just a little bit too skinny. Especially relative to the pinkies sticking out here. I think the pinky is actually still a little bit thick. Pinkies are tiny, after all. Pinkies are just tiny little things. Ah, I see. You know, I never actually played the Minish Cap. I haven't played a lot of the handheld Zeldas, actually. Despite how much I liked the console games. Well, I hope it all went well. And thanks for sending some people my way. I'm always happy to show off what I'm doing here. I do like drawing things for the internet. Yeah, I do remember seeing it. I personally have enjoyed the style of the Wind Waker games. And I'm never quite sure why I never got around to playing it. I think part of it was just that I didn't have a lot of the handheld consoles. Oh. Well, thank you very much. I did work hard putting it all together. Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot when it first came out. I was always surprised that people hated on the art style so much, but I think a lot of it was just, oh no, change, and change is bad. But I always thought it was a cute little art style. Ah, I see. I like Makar. He makes a very cute noise when you throw him. The cutest little noise. Yeah. I see. Terrifying. So what is a human, a personification version, or? Yeah. Yeah, and it was just, you know, a little more shiny and upbeat. Very cute little game. Okay, I don't actually think that fold should be there now. Okay, still Makar. I also think it's funny that Twilight Princess was generally less well received than Wind Waker, even though it was supposedly the gritty game that people wanted, but I don't know, I don't think people necessarily want dark and gritty stuff for Zelda. It's just, it's a happy place. It's true, nobody can be pleased. Humans don't know what they want, that's why you don't listen to them. You just have to look through their words and try to find what is actually in their heart. I want to make this finger just a touch shorter. There we go. And then, let's see, how do I want to do the folds in the glove here? I don't know. No, I don't know. I think it just looks better simple, honestly. So I might just leave it there. Yeah, seems fine. Okay, I think I'll just leave it there. So I guess I'll go make the sleeve pretty now. Arms have always been my art nemesis. But I think I got this one pretty well wrangled already, so it should be pretty straightforward from here. You know what? I actually might want to work on the inside before I get too deep into the outside, because the folds will affect how I handle the outside of it here. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you know, I suppose I should actually zoom out and show you what I've been drawing, since I was zoomed in on the hand the whole time. But yeah, right now I'm just going through and smoothing out all of her clothes and stuff, and I will fully render it all once, you know, like I've done with her face and hair, where it's a little bit softer. I'm just starting with some of these harder ones here because it's easier to picture her structure and stuff. And then later, we'll go back through and we'll make it all, we'll make it all soft. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and then once I finish this one, I'll mirror it all over to the other side, and then I'll draw the dress version. I couldn't decide if I wanted to draw her in a suit or a dress, so I said, screw it, let's do both. So there you go, I'm doing both. I just wanted to design something. And so there we go. That's what I came up with. Well, thank you very much. You know, I worked pretty hard on all of it. It can often take me a very long time to draw things. I'm slow. So, yeah, right now, just, you know, working on the stuff here, and I'll just gradually work my way down her body. And then once I have everything, all the basics down, I'll go back and make it soft like I've done on the face. So, you know, this won't be just a super hard edge like it is right now. This will be nice and gradated and all that. I'm just not quite sure how I want it to look yet. This is highly experimental for me right now. So, we're just trying things. Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's where we're going. And as for why I decided to draw this side first, well, this side has legs, and they are visible. Thank you. I've been working on my posing recently, so glad to see that it's been working out. Thanks for noticing. Yeah, so this one has legs, and I figure that if I draw the legs a little bit more explicitly and I don't let myself get lazy and let them be hidden in the dress, that it'll be a little bit stronger pose-wise, and then when I flip it over, well, I'll have accurate legs that I can just cover in the dress. So that's why this one's being drawn first. Because legs. Alright. So I'm gonna go hide some of my layers again. Where's the trim? I wanna, oh no, those ones are supposed to be off, okay. Where the heck did I put it? You know what, I'm gonna collapse the head. There we go. I'm not changing the head right now, I don't need to be scrolling through head layers. There we go. Okay. So, let's see. I wanted to kind of get the basic angles of where the folds are, so that this way I can change the overall shape of the outside here. I always like to just get the outside before I do the inside, because then I can just lock the layer and not care about going outside the lines anymore. But I think that's a good representation of where the folds are going to be, so I'll just pull some of this out real quick. And that will kind of determine where those are going to go, so now I can freely draw them and get all the little bumps on the sleeve that I need. I think the one here is going to be a little bit gentler than the one up there. This one I picture being a little bit more dramatic. And then we get all the bunching up in the elbow here. There we go. Smooth that out just a little. I like making it pointy. I like pointy things. I guess since this style's a little bit softer, I won't make it quite as pointy as usual. I don't think it would match very well, but it'd still be a little pointy. I feel like it's just not me if it's not at least a little pointy. Okay. And then from out here, just a little bump right there, and another little one right here. A little bit lower, actually. Right there. Send it on out, and then I can get rid of this extra little bump right there that I don't need. And this can go right in to the cuff. And then I think there's going to be another little bump, just a little one, right there. I went and looked at a quick reference of a suit while I was trying to figure out how these folds should work, so I think this is pretty accurate. At least as accurate as I want to make it. I looked up some for the gloves too, and I tried to put in some folds and stuff in there, but none of them looked good. So I just made the edges a little bit bumpy. I might actually still go back and make some more edges a little bit bumpy, but let's finish what I'm doing here. Because yeah, now that I look at it, this line just feels very straight. In my usual style, that'd be fine. But here, I don't think it's quite right. It really is amazing to me just how much style changes how you do certain things. So with me wanting things to be just a little bit softer here, it's actually changing way more than I expected. So, let's see. With the way I had it drawn, I think that there should be a little bit of a bump right there. That's too much. It's subtle. Very subtle. But I think it'll make a difference. Little bit of one right there. Little bit of one right... Not right there. Right there. And into here. Yes. And then on this pinky in particular, I actually think it'll be helpful if I have a little bump right there, or... No, I am wrong. Okay. Maybe a little thing right here. Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. No, I don't like it on the other side, though. There almost certainly has to be something right there, but I'm gonna keep it small. Otherwise, the bump will just look kind of incomplete. Okay, there we go. And then I can fill out this side just a little. Figuring out which folds to keep and which folds to just ignore. It's actually kind of tricky, because I tried to add a few more details onto the hand here, and I just hated the way it looked, but this one's okay. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. Alright. But, yeah, the style is still simplified enough. Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's still simplified enough that I can't go too hard on the folds. If I was going more towards semi-realism, I probably could, but everything is still simple enough that if I go too hard on that, it just looks weird. And I don't know, I still feel like even if I didn't use one that was quite so strong, I don't know, I'll revisit it later. It might need a thing or two in order to match some other things. Maybe it'll be more clear to me once I finish the part around her stomach here, and maybe on the skirt. Just so this way, if the stuff around it is a little more detailed, maybe then it'll make sense to my brain or something. But, I don't know, anytime I try to add more realistic folds to that, it just looks kind of bad. So, let's not worry about it. Let's go draw an arm. And I can revisit it later as many times as I want until I'm happy. And like I said, so much of this is still highly experimental for me. So, yeah, if you guys have been digging around my blue sky, then you'd see that I've been going for more of a hard cel-shaded look lately. So I'm trying to bring in some softer elements again. So, still very experimental. There is much science happening. But it's okay. That's why I've been looking at other pictures. So I had the pictures that I have all around here are just from a particular artist that I think does this kind of thing really well. So if I don't know what to do, I'll go reference him occasionally. And then, of course, you know, just going on to Google and looking at the photo reference anytime I need to know how things actually work. And that kind of thing. It's all very useful. But now, I think it's just the time to smooth all these little folds out. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I think this one should be a little bit bigger. And then we'll come down here. This one will be quite big. And then there'll be a little one over here that I don't think even goes all the way to the edge. Just a little guy. Just a little tiny one. Just rounding that off there. I think this one should go a little further. This one's big. This is the big one that's really pulling things. Yeah, there we go. And then, probably just a little bit through here. I'm mostly making things up, but it's fine. As long as it's convincing, as long as I can convince people this is real, I have succeeded. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've been doing lots of experimental stuff lately, but I'd say out of all of the experiments I've done recently, this one has been my favorite so far. I like this one, so I'll definitely keep this in my arsenal for the future. This one will go all the way to the edge. This one will stop right there. I want it to be just a little bit smoother around the edges. I want to make sure that this is ready for me to make it really smooth later. And for me to be able to get all those gradients in. I at least know with the hair, if I hadn't taken a bunch of time to get it really smooth first, that it would have been like 10 times harder to do. So, let's just get all those shapes the way that I want them to be. I want to send this one out a little bit further to the elbow, I think. No, I don't want to cut into it. We're gonna keep it just like this. Do I want a little bit out here? No. Big, thick, juicy folds. This is not exactly a thick cloth, that's why we're getting folds like this, but this is what I saw when I looked at suits. I looked at them for a little while, tried to understand them. Understand the heart of suit. And just kind of went from there. And the hair is going to be sitting on it, so the shadow will be nice and close. And I think it's fine for it to just kind of be on both sides, because the hair is quite close. It's actually even closer on this side, because this is a cuff that'll be sticking out, but actually, now that I think about it, working on the shadows on here is probably a waste of time, but no. I'll go ahead and do it. Because at some point, I'm going to turn the trim layers back on, and this entire thing will just become gold. But if I draw the shadows now, not only will it bother me less until I turn those shadows back on, but I can just use the magic wand tool to pick them out. And use them on the gold layer, so it'll be fine. I can draw them now without wasting time. There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted. This one I want to be a little bit longer. Do I want it to reach all the way to the edge? I think I do. But the other one I don't. This one doesn't go quite as far. Okay, I think that's probably good. Yeah, I think that looks pretty okay. I actually don't think I quite like the angle on that one. I want this one to go up a little higher. Because her shoulder's a little bit higher there. Same with this one. I think I just want the angle upward to be a little sharper. Okay. Better? Much. Cool. Alright. Well, let's see. Do I want to attempt anything else? Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose I can try to get her waist here real quick. Gonna have to go before too much longer, but I think we can do just a little bit more around here. So once again, I always like to start with just focusing very much on the outside. I don't mind cutting into this arm a bit here. I'll draw it back after. But I like to do that because then I can just focus on the inside afterward. And it just makes things less complicated. Alright. Well, I stream every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday is game design, Friday is whatever game I happen to be playing. Next week I'll be finishing Copy Kitty, which is an excellent game. Will make you feel super powerful. It's fantastic. And then Saturday is art. So I'll be drawing something, and probably for the foreseeable future it'll be this. Because it'll take me a little while to finish this guy. I'd love to have you guys, just whenever you can make it. Oh, thank you. Okay. I already think that I have the basic folds on this looking pretty good. I love you too. All right. Yeah, I already think that, actually, I probably made them too pointy. I went back into my usual techniques there, so let's round out those corners just a little bit. But otherwise, I think it looks okay. Okay. So here, we got little things to hold the buttons. I'm pretty sure I have these on the right side, because, you know, this is supposed to be a fancy woman suit. Which means that you button them in the opposite direction than you would normal suits and men's suits in general. Just because for whatever reason, back in ye olden days, women did not dress themselves. So they put the buttons on the opposite side to make it easier for whoever was actually dressing them. And for whatever reason, it just stayed like that to the modern day, and I still think it's the weirdest thing. That's why many women's blouses have the buttons backwards. The history of clothing is wild, man. So there we go. We'll get that in there real quick. I think this is dark enough for it. This is a black suit, so you can't get much out of the shadows. And I'll lighten things up around the buttons for now. I'll put the cast shadows on them a little bit later. It's not important yet. I'll try to get this line fairly straight. I am personally not great at drawing straight lines. I always find it super hilarious that the example that I hear most when somebody is trying to express that they can't draw and that they're not good at drawing is that, oh, I'm so bad at drawing I can't even draw a straight line. It's like me and you both, buddy. I just always find it so funny that they use such a difficult thing to do as their example for why they can't draw. That's why we have rulers. Drawing a straight line freehand is really, really hard. Okay, here we go. I think I want this side to kinda... It's a little bit off center. There we go. It's not supposed to be straight up and down, but it's close. Oops, I had the wrong color. Okay. I don't know why I decided to do this part first, but I sure did. You know what, before I continue, I should get the belt around there. So just a nice little gold belt here. I'm not doing anything very special with it. It is there to hold up her pants. And break up her silhouette. Well, not so much the silhouette, but break up all the colors there. There's a lot of black here, so it needed something in the middle to kind of balance it out. Let's get him in there. Let me see. I need to zoom out for this, actually. Because, let's see, her shoulders are going that way. So I wanted her hips to be going that way. Just not very strongly. So yes, I do have that drawn correctly. Okay. It's alright, I'm glad I checked, because I get that kind of thing backwards all the time. I still remember in my last game dev stream, I had to spend like 5 minutes just making sure that I had something rotating to the right correctly. It wasn't a code thing, it's just, oh god, is this rotating to the right or to the left? My brain struggles with these things so much. The dyslexia is real sometimes. Terrible. Alright, the belt buckle there is kind of hard to see right now, but that's okay. I'll fix it later. No, I'll fix it now. I'll do it now. So this isn't supposed to be metal or anything. I mean, the buckle is, but the belt itself is just gold. So it is, I don't know, a fairly tough cloth, like maybe leather or something. And I'll get rid of any of the suit kind of bleeding below before I do anything else. What is that? That is a hole in the suit. I should fix that. Yeah, I guess it was covered by the belt before. There we go. And I'm not going to do the cast shadows just yet. So first thing I gotta do, I don't want to use a color this red for the rest of my shadows here because, ooh, that was just because that was metal. And metal can kind of have, especially kind of golden metal like that, can have undertones like that. But I definitely don't want it for the rest of this. Let's see, I think that everything over here should still be in shadow. The cape is a thick enough cloth that it's going to block the light source from behind there. So, I'll plop on a little bit of light there, because I do think that the top part there would be nice and lit. And then I just need a slightly darker color to cast shadows from this, so this way they don't kind of meld together into some unholy abomination like it is right now. Also, I kind of want a fold, and I also kind of want to erase a couple of spots for belt loops, but I'm not sure where I want those to be yet. So, or, you know, if they'll even be there, they probably will. I want something to be keeping this belt up, but I'm not quite sure how I want to structure it just yet. I think that will be a decision for a later time. But for now, let's just pick a nice shadow color here. So I'm gonna grab a light gray purple. Very, very desaturated. Fairly light. That looks hideous. Let's pick a better color. I'll add some more saturation to it. Add a little bit more purple to it. I don't know. Should I do overlay with kind of a mid purple then? No, that's too pink. Maybe something more blue then. I just like to mix the colors directly, but no, I don't know. This is just getting me something that's a bit too gray. And that's no. That's still a bit too purple. I am picky. Don't worry about it. That one's good. Okay, we'll use this one. Okay, so now I can just plop in the colors here and separate them out. And I can add a few dark shadows around the fingers, since the fingers are supposed to be kind of pushing into it a little. And then just because I like the way this kind of thing looks, I'm going to add just the slightest hint of a seam on the top and the bottom. On the other side... No. I think I still want it to be dark on this side, too. No. I changed my mind. I'm gonna have it this color. Over here. I changed my mind a lot. It's okay. Sometimes once I see it, I realize that the decision I made was not quite right. And that should be clean enough when I zoom out. Okay. And I just want to clean up the shadows a little bit over here. And then we can make these ones look nice finally. Just let it follow the shape a little. I can touch up the line once I'm done. It'll be fine. There we go. So something like that. And I think that'll do it for now. For the belt, that is. At least until I decide how I want to handle belt loops and stuff. I almost certainly want them. I'm just not quite sure how I want it to look. Alright, and I should probably stop there for today. I got places I gotta go. Phew! But it's okay, that was pretty good progress for today. I finally finished the hair. Hair is always special, because anime girls must be, like, at least 30% hair. And I feel like that's on the low end. So it can take a little while to get hair right. And then... got pretty much her entire upper body done. I have a little bit to do here, and then like I said, I kind of want some belt loops and stuff. So hopefully... Oh yeah, I guess I should probably do this hand too. Someday. Someday. But yeah, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we can have just the basic part of the clothes done, and then there will be so much science to try to figure out how I want to blend it all and make it soft, like I have the rest of her face. So I'm really quite looking forward to that. That'll be a great time. Yeah, I suppose that's where I will stop for today. So next week will be usual stuff, more making of a phylactery, the game I'm developing on Thursday, some copy kitty on Friday, and then more drawing on Saturday. So I hope to see you all there, but for now, I will stop here. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I will see you all next week. You know, thinking about it, I should probably figure out how writing works too. I've been streaming on Twitch for like a week, so I haven't actually figured it out. Let's go find someone else that's drawing. Let's see. Where's some pretty art here? There's some pretty art here. There's lots of pretty art here. It's hard to choose. Choices really are hard. Alright, let's go here. Somebody is co-working.